Hello, Heron and Riverside students. Today we're going to be talking about Skill 16, Parallel and Perpendicular Lines. Strap in and remember that you can pause the video at any time if you need to catch up. I'll try to go slow so that we can stick together. So we are asked to graph these three lines using the slope-intercept form on the same plane. So we're going to do it on the same graph. Line 1 has a slope, or m, which is 1/2. And our y-intercept of 1, which is b. Remember that our slope-intercept form is y equals m x plus b. So I'm going to go up 1 from our origin to find our y-intercept, and then I'm going to follow the directions that our slope gives us. We go positive 1 and over to the right 2, up 1 and over 2. I can do it again. I can go the other direction if I go down and to the left, so I'm going the opposite direction now. And all of these lines fall on this line right here. So that is line 1. Line 2 is a slope of 1/2 and a y-intercept of 2. So this time I'm going to go up 2 on my y-axis. And then I'm going to follow the same pattern. I'm going to go up 1 and over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, and I can go back the other way. So here is my line 2. Put it down here. And then finally it asks us to graph y equals negative 2x plus 2. So our m is going to be negative 2. Now remember that if you just have a whole number for your slope, you can write it as a fraction by putting it over 1. So this negative 2 becomes negative 2 over 1. And our y-intercept again is 2. So I'm going to go up 2 right here. And then this time I'm going to follow my directions that say go down 2, 1, 2, over 1, down 2, over 1, down 2, over 1, and so on. And I can go in the opposite direction by going up 2 and to the left 1. Up 2 and to the left 1. So here is line 3. Call that line 3. There we go. And then we have some questions. So it says, what do you notice about the slope of lines 1 and 2? Well, I noticed that my slope for line 1 was 1/2. My slope for line 2 is 1/2, so the slopes were the same. And then it asks us, how do the lines 1 and 2 differ? Well, they have a different b, right? Our b was 1, and then it was 2 for line 2. So we have different y-intercepts. And then it says, what do you notice about 2 and 3? Well, 2 and 3 have the same y-intercept, but their slopes are different. They're actually inverse. They are what we call opposite reciprocals. If you remember, a reciprocal, as an example, would be the opposite of 3. The reciprocal of 3 is 1 over 3. Oops, 3 disappeared. So that is the reciprocal of 3. And the opposite, let's put an example here, the opposite of 3 is negative 3. So if we make opposite reciprocals of a number, we end up with a negative version if we had a positive version, a fraction if we had a whole number. And how do they differ? Well, not only are they going in opposite directions, they're actually perpendicular. They intersect once. They intersect, wow, there we go, at one point. And they are perpendicular. The lines are perpendicular. which if you have any geometry background or you have not seen this, that means that the angle that these two lines meet at is 90 degrees. Just a little reminder. Go ahead and pause the video so that you can finish your notes, and then we'll move on. So what are some key ideas? We are going to be talking about parallel lines and perpendicular lines, so let's get an idea of what parallel lines are. In terms of graphing, parallel lines have the same slope, and different y-intercepts. Same lines means the same line. We have two lines that are the same. They're going to have the same slope and the same y-intercept. They're going to be the same line. Now this might not always be apparent. Sometimes they could be in slope-intercept form or they could be point-slope form. And then the y-intercept on parallel lines, it moves up or down. Oops, up or down. We can shift. So we also can talk about perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines, they intersect. Oh, I can't spell intersect. Intersect at 90-degree angles. Okay? And to get that, we need a perpendicular slope. And remember, we've already talked about this. We kind of hinted at it in the last slide. Perpendicular slopes are opposite reciprocals. I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. Oh, we can also point out that our perpendicular lines, because they intersect at 90-degree angles, they're always going to look kind of straight across from each other. So our example is y equals 2/3 x minus 4, and then y equals negative 3/2 x minus 4. And so what we did was we flipped over the fraction, and then we made it negative if it was positive. Let's think of a couple of other examples. We can use the one from our last slide. So for instance, I can say 3, and his opposite reciprocal will be, I'll flip it over, I'll make it a fraction, and then I'll make it negative, so that'll be negative 1/3. Or if I already have a fraction, let's say it's 2/5. Oops, 2/5. Then I would flip that fraction over, make it 5/2. And because the original fraction was positive, I'll make this one negative. So that would be the opposite reciprocal of 2/5. Go ahead and pause the video and finish your notes, and then we'll move on. Okay, so how are we going to use this? We are asked to find the slope of the line parallel to negative 3x minus 7y equals 21. I'm going to start by adding 3x to both sides. I'm doing this because I can't tell what the slope is just by looking at this equation, so I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form so that I can easily identify what my slope is. So I'm going to add 3x to both sides. That gives me negative 7y equals 3x plus 21. Then I divide by negative 7. These will cancel. That leaves me with y equals 3 over negative 7x. And then 21 divided by negative 7 is negative 3. So that is my slope-intercept form. And I could see very easily that the slope of my line is right here, negative 3/7. So that's the slope of any line that is parallel to the line that they gave us. And then it asks us to find the slope of the line perpendicular to that. And remember, a perpendicular line has opposite reciprocal slope. So I'm going to take my negative 3/7. I'm going to flip it over, make it 7 over 3. And it's going to be positive because my original one was negative. The opposite of a negative number is a positive number. So the opposite reciprocal of this slope is 7/3. Feel free to check it out, and then we will move on. Okay, so this slide is asking us to write the equation of a line perpendicular to y equals negative 1/2 x minus 3 that passes through the point 2, 1. Then graph both equations. Okay, so we can't exactly assume that our perpendicular line is going to meet on the y-intercept because it could be perpendicular at any point as long as it's at a 90-degree angle. So what we're going to do is we're going to find our slope, our perpendicular line slope, and then we're going to use the point that they gave us to create a point slope equation and graph that. So the first thing I need to do is find the slope of my perpendicular line. And remember that the slope is the slope of a perpendicular line. Is the opposite reciprocal. I'm going to say it a million times so that you guys understand what it means. So, my original line, the slope was negative 1 over 2, negative 1/2. So I'm going to flip that over, make it 2 over 1. And then because my original was negative, the opposite of that is a positive number, so my perpendicular line slope is right here. It is 2 over 1, or just 2. And now I'm going to use my point slope form. If you remember, point slope form is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And I'm just going to fill in the blanks, right? I have a y, which I don't have a number for yet. The y value that I'm going to plug in for y1 is 1, so minus 1, is equal to m. I found that the m of my perpendicular line is 2. And x I don't have a number for, minus x1 is 2. So there's my point slope form. Now I'm going to solve it so that I can graph it. I'm going to distribute my 2. Get y minus 1 equals 2x minus 4. Then I add 1 to both sides, isolating my y. 2x, negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. So this is the equation of my perpendicular line. So now it asks us to graph them both. I'm going to go back and I'm going to graph y equals negative 1/2 minus 3 first. Minus 3, go down 1, 2, 3, and negative 1/2, so go down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. That is my, can do better than that. There, maybe not. There we go. And then my perpendicular line is down 3. And then my slope is 2, which I remember is 2 over 1. So I go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Put 1 right there. There are my 2 lines. Go ahead and make sure that your graph looks like mine, maybe with a little bit less mess, and we can move on. Okay, so now we're asked to find a parallel line that passes through the point negative 2, 1, and then graph both of these equations. We can already graph our first line, and we want a parallel line to that. That means they're going to have the same slope. We just don't know where the y-intercept is. But we do have a point, we do have a point right here that we can use to help us figure that out. So if I want to find the equation for a line with a slope and a point, I'm going to use point slope form again, and I can just plug in what I know. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And I have the slope, so I'm going to plug that in, and I have 2 points. My y is 1, so I'm going to say y minus 1. My slope is 2, because my original line was 2, and I want a parallel line. And then x, I have to keep my minus, and then I continue with my negative 2. Minus minus 2 is going to be a plus. We do keep changing. My minus 1 equals 2 times x plus 2. Now I distribute. 2 times x is 2x. Sorry, y minus 1 equals 2x plus 4. And then add 1, both sides. Y is equal to 2x plus 5. There is my parallel line that passes through the point. So I can even go to 2, negative 1, or negative 2, 1, sorry, negative 2, 1 right here. And that is the point that I need my parallel line to pass through. So we'll graph our original line and see if we did it right. 1, 2, negative 3, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Sorry, there's my negative 3. There is my first line. And now we're going to graph my parallel line and see if it goes through. I'm going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. And I'm going to go up 2 over 1. Well, I'm out of space, so I'm going to go down 2 over 1. And look, it just falls right on that plot. So we found our parallel line. Go ahead and make sure your graph matches mine, and then we can move on. So for number 4, we were asked to write the perpendicular line of negative 6x plus 2y equals negative 8 through the point negative 3 comma 6. So this one is not in slope-intercept form, so I don't know what the slope is. I can't use point-slope form yet. So I am going to get it in point-slope or slope-intercept form by converting this into a slope-intercept equation. That just means I'm going to put everything but y on the right side. And I'm going to do that through inverse operations. I'm going to add 6x to both sides. It gives me 2y, this cancels, is equal to 6x minus 8. And I'm going to divide everything by 2. That gives me y equals 3x minus 4. So now I know the slope of my original line right here is 3. And I need an inverse or reciprocal, opposite reciprocal of those. That means I'm going to take 3. I'm going to flip it over, make its reciprocal. And then I'm going to make it the opposite of its reciprocal, which is negative. So that is the slope of my perpendicular line. And now I'm going to use the point that I have with point-slope form to make another slope-intercept equation so I can graph it. So I'm going to have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I'm going to plug in y. The point is 6, so I'm going to do minus 6 is equal to the slope, which is negative 1/3 times x, and then I have minus negative 3. 2 negatives make a positive, so I have y minus 6 equals negative 1/3 x plus 3. I'm going to distribute my negative 1/3 in here. I'm going to have y minus 6 equals negative 1/3 x. And then I can do this out here. Negative 1/3 times 3 is the same as times 3 over 1. I get 3 over negative 3, which is just negative 1. So this is negative 1 right there. And then finally I add 6 to both sides. That gives me y equals negative 1/3 x plus 5. So notice that they don't have the same y-intercept now. So let's graph our first line. We have y equals 3x minus 4. I'm going to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we go up 3. 1, 2, 3, and over 1. There's my line. Oop, kind of trailed off there at the end. There we go. Okay. Now I'll graph my perpendicular line. I'm going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there. And we'll go down 1 and over 3. Down 1. Right there. Got some points. Now I can draw my graph. If my hand is steady, there we go. And if you need to count, here is our slope. Down 1 over 3, and our slope over here is up 3 over 1. go ahead and fill out your notes and we will finish up. If you have any questions, feel free to go back, watch again, make sure your notes are completely filled out. I will see you in class. Have a great day.